From Season 3, Episode 1 begins with a quick recap of what had happened in the previous seasons. However, the Season 3 kicks off from the very hospital room where the last episode of Season 2 had ended, with Tabitha waking up to the biggest shock of her life. Tabitha is really shocked by her current reality as she was informed by her doctor that she is in St. Anthony Hospital in Camden and was found without any means of identification. Now she is awake after being in the hospital for days. She found herself in her original reality, surrounded by other human beings and all the wonders of modern technology. Although it seems that her husband and 2 children are still stuck in the alternate reality time loop, or whatever Fromville really is, Tabitha had indeed managed to escape the place and return to the real world in some unexplained manners we are yet to know. Tabitha, after all this, immediately leaves the hospital, but on her way she found a young boy on white smiling at her in an awkward way. Tabitha immediately walked towards his direction and followed him into a nearby store, only to be shocked as he is not the same person from Fromville but just an ordinary child in the real world. Back to Fromville, we get to see Boyd Stevens treating his bullet wound he got from the previous seasons. During this, he had some conversation with his friend as one of his people tried to eliminate him few days ago, and the people are on the brink of lacking food. Although Boyd isn't bothered by all this, as he went out immediately. Meanwhile, Tabitha's husband and kids, Jim, Julie, and Ethan, are still in search of their mom whereabout. Just then, Jim decided to go into the wood to go find his wife, as he can't just watch his kid running into the wood to find their mom. Boyd tried to convince him to stay with his kid as it is too dangerous to go into the wood, and the odds that she is already dead are now high. Jim isn't having all of this and still insisted to leave for the wood, so Boyd is of the opinion that he goes into the wood using a more safer route. Back to Tabitha, who is now disheartened and confused about her next steps. She keeps walking around aimlessly and eventually borrows a phone to call up her mother, with whom she had not been in contact for a very long time. Her mother is overjoyed to hear Tabitha's voice and to learn that her daughter is alive and also doing fine. This once again assures that those living in Fromville at the moment have actually gone missing in the real world, with their family members and close ones even taking the help of the police to find them. However, her mother obviously wants her to return home with her entire family. Tabitha states that she cannot get back just yet and lies about the well-being of Jim, Julie, and Ethan, as she feels that her mother will not believe her strange claims either and chooses to hide the secret from her as well. Jim informed his kids, Julie, and Ethan about going to find their mom and promised them to return home. Boyd gave Jim and his companion some introduction and guide on how to get to the wood. Just at this moment, Boyd is summoned by his son about an urgent matter. Boyd followed him immediately to their farmland, only to find out that all they had planted and harvested have begun to rotten, most especially their carrots, beets, and potatoes, so at this point, they are out of food. Meanwhile, there is chaos in town as everyone is now very hungry. Just then a young man went to their animal farm to forcefully take a goat to feed on, as now everyone is starving, but just then, Victor put his gun at him to drop the goat. Boyd arrived also to control the whole situation and inform the people to work together and find a solution about their current situation. Back to Jim and his friend inside the wood. Jim spots a weird-looking building and decided to go check it out, as Jim is of the opinion the small house would be a perfect place to rest at for the night. However, his friend is skeptical about this as this wasn't part of the instruction Boyd gave to them before heading for this journey. Anyways, Tabitha now walks into a church, hoping to find some resolution in religion and faith. She enters a confession booth and starts to talk about Fromville in a vague manner, with the priest listening to it and also giving some vague and general advice. After the priest's statement about God showing us the true path, Tabitha realizes that the church cannot provide her any solutions, and so she walks out of the confession booth. The priest followed her immediately and tries to convince her to stay longer, and she even talks about the child she had earlier lost before getting trapped in Fromville. It is then that he attracts Tabitha's attention towards the lunchbox she has been carrying, possibly thinking that it belonged to the son she had lost. However, she informed him that the lunchbox belonged to Victor, and he had given it to Tabitha before she set out on her adventure in Fromville. As she talks about Victor and goes through the contents of the box, she finds a piece of paper stuck on the bottom of it with an address of Victor's house in the real world. She finds the address and goes there hoping to find more answers. Boyd and his executives discuss about a way to solve the hunger crisis but just then they decided to feed on the goat. Ethan overheard their conversation about them killing the animals to feed on them and sadly left. Boyd goes to comfort him, and Ethan pleaded that his favorite goat dies first because he does not want her to watch her friends die. Meanwhile, when Tabitha got to her destination, an old cranky man tries to shoo her away. Based on the similarity in physical appearance as well as demeanor, Tabitha realizes that the man is Victor's father. The man is definitely shocked at seeing his son Lunchbox and also hearing the name of his long-lost son. Meanwhile, Jim and his friend heard a mysterious noise outside and are alerted by this. At night, the doors to the farm animal are opened. Seems Boyd and his people last hope on feeding on the animals to sustain them is about to be gone. Boyd heard a noise as all the animals are now warding around on the street. But this seems fishy as it looks like a trap. Even Victor decided to help out on this situation to help take the animals back. However, they were been followed by those late-night hunters. Unfortunately for Ethan, he found his favorite goat and immediately unlocked the door. As soon as he did so, he got some visitors but Julie and Ethan quickly ran outside. They met a friend, and the three ran into the woods to hide. Back to Boyd's rescue mission, Jade got approached by one of the night hunters and is shocked by what he did next as it killed one of the cow. Meanwhile, Julie and Ethan ran to a safe place to stay for the night with the help from the arrogant guy from earlier. Boyd, now in a tight situation on saving the animal, luckily got to a building where they kept the cow, but just that moment, they realized where they were was a trap and few night hunters are right at that building. Boyd is now in trouble as they all began to attack him. This would be a long torture as he got handcuffed and watches how they dealt with his fellow friend in the worst way possible. The Season 1 Episode 1 of From Then came to an end. Episode 2 would be uploaded soon, so do well by subscribing to get up to date. Thanks for watching and goodbye.